I need to cut the DoorDash bill down from like twice a day, every day, to once a day. It's like disturbing how much I spend on DoorDash.
What's the average looking like now?
For DoorDash per day or like let's just go per day. I'm easily spending probably $60 a day on DoorDash every single day. I don't want to. I kind of know what it is, and I just don't want to know. I don't want to like say it.
And what is that, like 21,000 a year?
Oh, dude, don't say the yearly. Now I feel like fucking really bad. Oh my god, I need to fix that. That's a problem.
What's it? Poconos not a revelation.
Even out there too is just ordering shit. Actually, we grilled one day. Made some steaks. That was good.
What kind of steaks?
I'm a ribeye guy.
Yeah, same.
Ribeye for me. She did strips. I just like it like fatty, little way more tender. Ribeyes. If it's ribeye as an option, not even question it.
Yeah. I like strips, but there's some times that the strip just has like that silver skin between that fat cap, and it's just like inedible. You can't even eat the fat on the end of it because you just get that chewy bit in between the fat and the meat.
I know. I used to fuck with strips way back, but then like once I discovered like ribeyes, that's the move.
Yeah.
That's it every single time.
Yeah.
Can't go wrong.
No, it's funny because
we're live. What were you going to say, though? Let's hear your steak talk.
No, I was going to say that when I was growing up, so my mom was a vegetarian, and my dad just likes, like, thin steaks, cooked to shit, and all growing up, like, that was my reference for steak. And then, I don't know, at one point, I think it was probably going away to college, and, like, friends being like, oh, let's go out to eat. And I discovered, like, thick, fatty steaks that are actually cooked properly. I was like, okay, this is the way.
How do you get it?
How do I order my steak? If it's a ribeye, I usually go medium rare. If it's a fillet, I get rare.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm medium rare guy myself. Rare, I don't know. I feel like I could do rare too, but medium rare, I feel like perfect. And then I feel like anytime you go out to eat, they always overcook it one time anyway. You know what I mean? Like,
I guess it depends where you go.
Yeah, it depends on. Around here, Yard House, you motherfuckers always overcook it. But all right, we're in it. Welcome to HappyPWR. We have Sean Noriega coming in. He's been here a bunch of times. Finally getting him on the podcast. You got friends in the area? That's why you're always up here?
Yeah. So, I mean, I visited a couple times for some of the events that you guys have had. But this week I was just like, all right, the weather's shit in Miami. Yeah. A bunch of my friends had a free week. I have people who live in Philly, some that are outside of Philly. So we just planned a week to train, go out to eat, all that sort of stuff. So came up for the week.
Yeah, Florida getting crushed right now. Yep. Hurricane, Ian?
Ian, I think, yeah.
Somebody was like saying something the other day about like they need to start naming hurricanes more aggressively so that way people respect them. And
Hurricane
like,
Debo.
Hurricane Debo, and like everyone's like, I'm out. Like nobody's fucking around trying to play with Hurricane Debo. Hurricane Ian, you're like, I think
How
I
bad
got.
could he be?
Yeah, you're like I got a kayak. Like,
yeah.
All right, we're kicking it off finally too. We're gonna just do a little shot. It's a little early, so we're not gonna get too crazy. But
it's almost 5 o'clock.
It is. Yeah, that's true. It is. For Friday, it's actually like we're late. We're late to the party.
Big Scotch guy.
Yeah, so we got some Johnny Walker Blue Label. Shout out to Brad, my client, for giving me this bottle. It's way too expensive. I would never buy it, but it's delicious. That's why it's almost gone.
Thank God I got my training done already.
Yeah. See, we're you'll be all right.
Yeah, I'm moving up a weight class. The extra weight will suppress this.
We're going to have to really, are you?
Yeah.
Well, we're going to have to get into that. All right. Is that a shot?
It's like the video, 2 shots of vodka. Cheers, brother.
That's delicious.
Dude, I love scotch. You ever have Lafroig? I'm a big peaty scotch guy. Like, it just tastes like a bonfire.
Okay.
Very smoky scotches I'm a fan of. Like bourbon doesn't
I feel
really
like
do
I
it
did
for
have
me.
that one. I think we did. David, do you remember that one? It literally was like a fucking campfire in your mouth.
The one that tastes like deconstructed barbecue.
Yeah. What is it called again?
Lafroig.
Maybe that might have been it, but like I was probably just saying it wrong this whole time.
I don't know.
I think if it wasn't that one, we have had a few of recent that were also gifts that, very smoky.
Yeah.
Those are good. Those are, like, when you first, I feel like it's like one of those times where you take a sip, you're like, but like as you continue to kind of let those taste buds develop a little
Yeah.
bit, it hits.
No, the sweet stuff, the fruity stuff doesn't really
No,
do it for me at
I've
all.
never been a sweet. I mean, I personally, if it was up to me, I'd probably be more of like I'm more bourbon.
Gotcha.
I like that bite, you know, like the Maker's Mark's probably my go-to.
Mm-hmm.
But of recent, you know, been getting into some of the Johnny Walker. You know, what was the other one that we had?
Macallan's.
Macallan's, yeah, that was one. I had a few of those. Those are incredible. There was another one somebody got me. It was like that. What was it like? Something. I don't know if it was like cast in Cuba or something. I don't know. It was, no, this was like a
whiskey?
Scotch. This was like a Scotch whiskey. Damn, literally got it. Somebody bought it for me. Another person ended up gifting it to me like a week later. I had 2 bottles at one point. We crushed it. Anyway, yeah, I like Scotch. Scotch. But yeah, let's jump right into the fucking weight class thing.
Yeah, man, let's do it.
So you're 83 forever.
Yep.
You know, and I guess what this past year for USAPL 181, right?
Yep, they change it back to the normal weight class, the
Yeah.
181.8 class, yeah.
And then now going up to 198.
Yep.
I like it.
Yeah. So basically, I mean, I've been powerlifting for almost 10 years now, and I've been the same body weight since I was like 17 years old. And I mean, this is a super hard decision for me to make in general, just because like I want to win the 82s really badly. And you know, I believe I've been strong enough to do so, and I don't compete well. You know what I mean? It's just like I have tons of 7 for 9 meets, which, you know, against lifters like Russ is just not going to get it done. If you make all your lifts, you're going to be the better lifter, right? So that was a hard decision to make, but the reason I'm going up is I've been this body weight since I was 17, right? And like I've recomped really well throughout this whole process, but I want to get bigger strength-wise. I want to get bigger muscle-wise. I want to get stronger. And basically I see it kind of as a win-win, because I feel like with how long I've been at this weight class and just looking at people over the years who have been, you know, muscularly mature for a while, are lean, and have been the same weight, when they move up, they blow up. You know, I think of guys like Charlie Dixon. I think of guys like, you know, Marcus Adudu. I think of Jamar Royster. All guys who once they bit the bullet and went up a class, they saw massive progress on all of their lifts. And I think that placing-wise, after, you know, 6-8 months of sitting at that weight class, I'll probably be in contention just as I was in the 82s. So that's the plan with weight class. I mean, the way that I see it as well is, you know, let's say I get to that June, July mark where it's like, all right, we're starting prep and I'm not quite where I want to be. You know, worst case scenario, I cut back down and I'm worst case in the exact same spot I would have been every other year, which is you're strong enough to win, but you have to make your lifts. And, you know, I have to make my lifts no matter what weight class I compete in. Yeah. So that's always going to be the obstacle. But, you know, I'm excited for the new challenge. You know, Petrie is obviously, from a DOT standpoint, a more impressive lifter than everyone except Ashton and Bob. So it's not like I'm, you know, moving to an easier weight class by any means. But I welcome the challenge. I hope one day, you know, I hope Russ makes the move up to the weight class eventually, considering he spends most of his year at that weight class anyway.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I'm surprised he's been able to kind of get down there. I feel like, I mean, then again, I mean, Russ is even a little shorter. Like I have like you have a couple
2
inches on
maybe
him,
3
right?
inches on him, yeah.
So that's like the one thing is like he is just so fucking jacked, but
Yeah.
he's also a little shorter. So, you know, I'm sure it's not that difficult for him to get to that,
Yeah.
you know, even 181 mark. But I mean, he's definitely muscle mass wise way ahead of most of the other competitors in that class.
Absolutely.
So, and I mean, I feel like of late you have also started to kind of prioritize like more accessories. I've been seeing like, you know, looking jacked. You know what I mean? Looking way more jacked. Like going back to like, you know, I've known you for shit. I don't know. Like you were.
We did the Arnold together like 5-6 years ago.
Yeah, it's been. You're one of the first people that I kind of remember seeing like regularly. Like,
yeah.
You know what I mean? All the big meets, Nationals, Arnold. And yeah, I mean, you've definitely put on size, and for you to stay in that same weight class, I'm definitely excited to see what'll happen if you kind of now you're like, all right, the new cap's 198. Let's see what happens.
Yep.
Like, fuck, who knows? Like squat, like I feel like squat when guys get a little extra
Yep.
meat on their bones, like
Yep.
squat can go crazy. I mean, even even bench, like I feel like bench, like if I'm up 5 pounds, I feel twice as strong.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't know if that's how you've been. I've just noticed like my bench actually is probably the one that fluctuates, or like I feel the biggest difference in.
Yep.
So it'll be wild, because I feel like when you're in your off season, where are you typically sitting at?
So I would say for most of my powerlifting career, I've spent off seasons at like 190, but in the past year and a half, I've been the strongest I've been, but also the lightest. Like I've just spent more time walking around like 187, 188, which is like a very manageable cut and has been like leaner than I've walked around in recent years. So it's not an issue of like having trouble making the weight class. Like I said, it's just more so wanting to actually grow, because I've just been at this class for so long, and it's at the point now where like all the bodybuilding stuff that I've been doing has paid off physique-wise, but I think it's just because it's very novel stimulus. Once it gets to the point where I'm habituated, it's like, all right, there's no more growth that's really going to happen. And I think that strategy, like if we talk about Russ, for example, it's like, he spends most of his training year at 200 pounds. It's like, yes, it is a big cut to make, but it's if you're moving up for, 8-9 months of the year and, accruing tissue or getting a little bit stronger, and you're able to maintain 2 to 3% of it, when you make the diet back down, it's like you're net positive. You know what I mean? So like I said, I truly believe that I'll be in contention as a 90 just because of what I expect to see improve upon on each of the lifts. But worst case scenario, I make the decision to come back down, if that's the point that I come to, and hopefully be net positive. And if worst case scenario, just exactly where I would have been had I stayed in the class the whole time.
Yeah.
So
Plan is to stay USAPL.
yeah, absolutely.
Any consideration Powerlifting America?
No, it doesn't entice me at all, honestly, man. I mean, the thing has always been, and even before Powerlifting America became a thing, people just talking about like, okay, do you want to go to IPF Worlds? It's like, if I win, I'm gonna, if I won the weight class any of those prior years, I would have gone, because that's, one, something I've earned, and two, just the next logical progression of when to compete. But the IPF has just never enticed me. I did Worlds once in 2017. It's just, one, it's boring, but even if it weren't boring, like powerlifting is very objective from a ranking standpoint. Like the best 83s, now that Gibbs is gone, are in the US.
Yeah.
Like this year, the world champion, Delaney won IPF Worlds 802. That would have been like the 5th place total in USAPL Nationals.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like, am I going to make the switch over to PLA and then, call myself a world champion, let's say, if I win, and then get out totaled by, 1 or 2 people on the US side? It's like, okay, what does this really mean?
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people overstate like it's worlds, the travel, blah, blah, blah. It's like, all right, it's not that serious. If you're at nationals and you get, there's a good chance you're going to get strict judging. I think of guys like Paulie Steinman or any of those types of judges. It's like, it's the same caliber shit. Like they're all Cat 1 or whatever the qualification is to be a ref at Worlds anyway. It doesn't fucking matter in my opinion.
Yeah, I would imagine it's pretty much the same standard. And it's just, the IPF Worlds, I don't know. I feel like they could do better just promoting it, maybe adding some excitement to it. Like I just feel like it's just,
from a product standpoint, I am much more in line with the direction USAPL wants to take it versus what the IPF is doing. So
you ever think about doing any of the other big meets? Like now you have like some of
like
the USPA.
The untested stuff. No, it doesn't. Honestly, it doesn't entice me. I like my power bar for all 3 lifts.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I mean, like I'll be honest with myself, right? It's like I'm not Ashton, where I can contend against untested guys, where that's actually an incentive to do it, right? Because Ashton can go in and say like, oh, I'm going to beat all of these untested guys for the overall. It's like, I know I'm not going to do that, right?
Yeah.
And I don't necessarily care to go and place, 5th overall or whatever it might be at a meet where, I'm doing a 24-hour weigh-in, so I don't even have a way to compare that to previous meets. We have a deadlift bar, there's no reference for me for what it would be relative to other performances. Be like, okay, cool, I did that. Did I get stronger? Is it just the bar? Is it the weigh-ins?
The weigh-ins. Have you ever done a 24-hour weigh-in?
My first few meets I did. So the first meet that I ever did was an IPA meet, which was at the time was like all multiply. I was like the only raw lifter in that meet because it was just by my house, and my friend was like, oh, you should do a powerlifting meet. And then the next 2 meets I did were like USPA and RPS, because at the time it was like 2013. There was just not really any USAPL anywhere. I think the only place USAPL was like consistently running was like Colorado, California, whatever. So
Same thing. Yeah, my first 2 RPS, just all I knew. That's all I see. I seen like guys in the gym with RPS shirts. I'm like, oh, this is where you compete in powerlifting. I'm like, I don't know. I didn't know any better. I don't even know when I first seen USAPL. But, well, actually, I do know. It was when they had the Scranton Nationals.
Yeah.
So, like, it was coming to PA, and I was like, oh, shit. Like,
I got to do this.
Got to do that.
Yep.
So, yeah, it's always interesting, though. I mean, yeah, seeing some of the guys that have kind of, like, crossed over from, you know, USAPL even back before, and then even competing in some of these, like, you know, you got WRPF now and USPA, some of these bigger meets. It's always fun to kind of see some of that crossover. That's why I was, like, interested to see if you had ever thought about it. But at the same time, I get it. It's like you're at a disadvantage. Like, you know, if it's untested, there's no way around it. You're at a disadvantage. Even if you're with a top natural guys, like, yeah, there's an Ashton. He'd probably go in there, hold his own against anyone. Yeah. You know, Bob. But
even then, it's like, even from the non-competitive perspective, like, there's nothing about doing one of those meets that feels like I'd be achieving something. You know what I mean? It's just like I said, it's such a different standard. The equipment's different, where I haven't used it long enough to have any sort of reference with previous performances to say, okay, I topped one of my better performances of the past. It's like, no, I didn't, because it's just not comparable. Exactly.
You ever play around with deadlift bar?
No. I mean, like I said, I used it back in the day when, like, that's what powerlifting was. It's just like, you know, use a deadlift bar. I don't like it, to be honest with you. That's how I am.
That's why I tell everyone. I'm like, I fucking hate the deadlift bar. Like, I like a power bar, like, for deadlifting. And if it was up to me too, I just wish, like, powerlifting would just kind of unify at least on equipment. You know what I mean? Like, let's just all use a power bar. You know what I mean? Just make that. Like, a basketball is a basketball no matter where you go. Yeah. Why can't we do that with a fucking bar? Because, like, you know, it's, like, fun, I guess. Like, deadlift bars, it's, like, I guess fun. It's different when you're using it. But at the end of the day, it's, like, I just hate how there's the inconsistency across the board. Like, this fed's using this. Now there's different deadlift bars. So now there's, like.
Now you have that kabuki one that just bends to hell.
Yeah, it's just, I mean, I don't know. I mean, again, it's like I can appreciate what they're trying to do, but at the same time, I just like consistency. Mm-hmm. So,
no, I got you.
I don't know. I mean, it is what it is. I don't really see it changing anytime soon, but.
No, definitely not. I remember when there was a point in time where, like, the USAPL was kind of on everybody's shit list. I forget what it was, but it was a few years ago where people were just annoyed with something that happened, and USPA at the time was rolling out their drug-tested division, right? And I think me and a couple other people had reached out to Denison. Mm-hmm. We're like, oh, are you thinking about potentially, you know, making the drug tested division 2 hours or making the drug tested division 1 bar? And he was like, nope, like, we're gonna preserve everything USAPL or USPA has done, you know, across the board. Mm-hmm. And for those of us who had asked that question, we're just like, all right, like, that's an easy no. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's always kind of tough too. Sometimes some of the people that are in charge of these federations, I feel like they're, like, very hard to convince to maybe try something new or at least consider something new. I mean, I've kind of developed a pretty good relationship with, like, some of the USPA guys. I haven't really talked to Steve a whole lot here and there, maybe an email, but, like, Tyler, who's kind of taken over as, like, marketing.
Gotcha.
He's, like, their marketing, social media. He's kind of handling all that stuff. I've met with him, with us doing the media for this last Nationals, and we also just got into, like, some of the feedback from Nationals, from the lifters, and it's like, you know, some ways that they can improve, like maybe adding, like, a prime time. Like, I thought that was always one of USAPL's, like, big draws, right? Like, you could go to Nationals, which is cool, but you can also potentially get to prime time, which is, like, the showcase, right? That's like, that's where the top dogs are. Going to those prime time sessions, like, whenever I'd be at the Raw Nationals, like, it would be rare that I would go to a session that I didn't have somebody competing in, but, like, those I would go to because it was just hype. It's fun to watch. Like you and Russ compete, like, that, like, fucking, you know, that high level competition. Anyone could appreciate that, and, like, that was that next level. You know, product value on, like, actually, you know, putting on a showcase.
And that's always the I think the appeal that USAPL has over every other federation is that you have intra weight class head to head.
Yeah.
It's like that does not exist on the tested
No, and I
side. It's
think-
like you have, you go by Dots or Wilks or whatever, but it's not the same, in my opinion,
Yeah.
when you have so many lifters in every weight class because the membership is just so high to be able to have like neck to neck, head to heads across genders, across weight classes.
Yeah.
That makes it so much more entertaining, in my opinion.
That's what's going to bring more people in, even just like eyes. That's also going to that's going to be what, makes somebody want to switch maybe from one fed to another. I mean, that's why USAPL, I think, is still the biggest federation. I mean, I would imagine membership wise, they
the
have
membership
to be
is
still
ridiculous.
Yeah. And it's just, but like talking with Tyler with the USPA, he's definitely like open to that. He's, he's a little bit more, I feel like, in tune with what's really going on in the powerlifting community. And those are definitely things like he's trying to push to some of those, the president, the top guys who kind of have the final say. So it'd be interesting to see kind of how some of these other federations adapt or don't. You know what I mean? Some of them.
I don't think they will, to be honest with you. I feel like things are kind of, the USAPL Powerlifting America thing is kind of a weird divide that, I don't know, at some point might get rectified, might not be, but the federation divide on tested and untested, I don't really see changing.
Yeah, it's kind of tough, but I don't know. I guess we'll see. I mean, when's USAPL Nationals this coming year?
So it's going to be in September next year. This
Okay.
past year it was in June because they were just like, all right, let's make it at the same time as IPF Worlds to say, like, go fuck yourself. We put on
Yeah.
the better event. But next year they moved it to September. So we have like a whole year until next one.
Yeah, I was going to say that's quite a while.
Yep.
So we also got to talk a little bit about, the Nori brand.
Yep.
Notice that the merch game has been improving, seeing more of it, you could just tell more kind of emphasis going into that.
Yeah, absolutely.
What kind of like led? Because like obviously, there's a ton of lifters. It's rare that you see like a lifter actually kind of like take that next step or go the direction of like, now we're going to create a business out of it. Because I feel like, you started lifter. Obviously, coaching came naturally after that.
Yep.
Seeing like you kind of expanded that. Now you got the brand. Like, what's the progression? Where do you see it all going?
Yeah, no, for sure, man. I mean, this is something, objectively speaking, I want to be huge. I really, really do. And the reason is, to just give like a very brief background, I went to school for engineering, but my natural inclination has always been more on the creative side. Like one of my passions growing up was acting. Yeah. So I'm very into expression, art, creativity, all that sort of stuff. And, when I left the science field, I started coaching as a full-time thing. That's been my main source of income and where most of my time goes into. Coaching has been on cruise control for a very long time. I have 5 coaches who work underneath me. My roster's full, all that sort of stuff. And, coaching is a full-time thing, but at the same time, I have not felt, or prior to starting this business, had not felt like creatively stimulated at all. Like there was a void and an outlet that I needed to put myself into. And I've always been into art. I've always been into fashion. Not in the, I don't spend a lot of money on clothes, but I've always appreciated that thing. And there are a ton of people that I've seen over the years who kind of come in, they try to start an apparel thing, and then they just kind of give up on it. It fizzles out, whatever. That happens all the fucking time. Yeah. Right? And for me, during the COVID year, that was when I brought on my coaches, and that was also when I was like, okay, I'm going to work with an actual brand designer and start figuring out what kind of message and values I want to convey. Like, let's do that first and try to figure out some sort of clear branding, and then from that, start selling apparel. I'm coming up on 2 years of it now. Mm-hmm. It's been fairly successful. I think the biggest thing that's held me back that I've tried to prioritize a lot more lately is just marketing. That's personally not my forte at all. I have no experience in that regard. Can't be bothered to do it. It doesn't interest me. Yeah. So like I've brute forced everything. A lot of it has been built off of just my name, my person, which in the initial phases of starting things is great because everyone's like, okay, I know who you are. I want to support you. Yeah. But I'm sure, as you know, like the brands that are successful, when you think of a brand, you think of the brand. You don't think of the person behind it. You think of Alpha Elite, Young LA, Gymshark, even your stuff. It's like the face is not the first thing that comes to mind. It's the brand. And I find that with myself, my face is the primary thing that comes to mind. And that's extremely limiting. Yeah. Right? It's extremely limiting in how much reach you can have, how much you can sell. So as of late, the focus has been bringing people on as creative directors, trying to do marketing much better. And this past launch that I did a couple weeks ago, it went much better than previous ones I had. And that's kind of the direction I'm taking it. Like, I'm very confident from a creativity standpoint, from an actual artistic standpoint, that what we're making is good. It's just it needs to be promoted more widely.
Yeah, I mean, I think you'll agree. Like, merch is hard.
Yeah.
The apparel game, creating a brand, like especially like in today's world where everyone has a brand.
Yep.
It's hard. Like and you mentioned it too. You're like, everyone has a brand, and it's like, most of the time those people. Actually, I wouldn't even say most of the time. In most cases where there is success, there is at least like somebody behind the brand like yourself, where it's like you're an established, figure in the market, right?
Yeah.
Powerlifting, fitness, even we can kind of just even, bigger picture, even like fitness, right? Powerlifting is more so the niche, but it does get tough after a while because it's kind of like literally like what you just said was like I was like replaying exactly what happened with like myself. It's like I just did like the Whitney Strength Performance thing, like start off, get it to my clients. I don't know. I didn't really necessarily think too much of it as like a brand. It was more so like creating some merch. Then I noticed there was like some demand, like people wanted more shirts. They wanted this, they wanted that. So I'm like, all right, like maybe we do something with this merch game. And, kind of trying to create more of a brand. That's kind of like the birth of Power Build. It was like, I know like people are like, nobody's going to want to like it. Say David didn't know me. He's not going to wear a Whitney Strength Performance shirt. Like, it's fucking weird. Like, they don't know. Like, he wouldn't know. Maybe even if he thinks the shirt's cool, it's just like, I don't know, what's Whitney Strength Performance if they don't know me? You know what I mean?
Yep.
So that's where kind of like the branding comes into play. And I think that you've done a great job, though. Like, you started with like the Nori thing, and I feel like that's kind of the brand, right? But like the no bad days, the why not us, right? You do that. Like, those are all kind of like mottos that anyone could kind of like attach themselves to. So that, I know you said like the marketing thing's not your thing, but you're getting it. You know what I mean? It's definitely like I can see the progression already, which is pretty cool because a lot of brands don't get that. You know what I mean? Like most people would just be like, put Nori on this, put Nori on that. You know what I mean? It's like, sure, your clients are going to probably eat it up. Like they're going to buy all of the things that you produce. But eventually, if you want to kind of like create that brand that's going to live on its own, which is always like my thing, trying to create something that like, if nobody knows who's behind it, that would be great for me. Yep. I would love that. But at the same time, you got to stay involved. Like, cause there was a while, and I was just talking about this with the last podcast that we did, one of the co-founders of Fuel Hunt. I don't know if you're familiar with that brand.
With what? What is it?
Fuel Hunt. That's the
Fuel
brand.
Hunt. Okay.
Way more popular in like MMA.
Gotcha.
Like they literally sponsor like Sean Brady. He's like one of the top guys. He's like from the Philly area. Okay. They have a lot of top fighters now that they work with, and like literally it's a 7-figure business. Like they started it in 2018, I believe. But they really kind of like got the ball rolling like over COVID. Like that's when they kind of like got their shit together. It's kind of when things started leveling up. 7-figure business now, like, and it's just, they just created that. They have like that, even the brand name for them, Fuel Hunt. You know what I mean? It's like, if you're the type of person that like kind of has that mentality, like, what that means. You can kind of attach yourself to it. So exactly. And that's even one of the things that we've been trying to work on is a little bit more is like having, I feel like our brand name is kind of like, it's good. It kind of has like, it's definitely like getting established, but it's like, we almost need more like, more of like kind of like a mission statement, a motto, you know what I mean? Exactly. Like we're always kind of working on like, do we have that? We have a couple things that we use, but like, do we have like the statement, you know what I mean? Yeah. So it's just one of those things. It's kind of like ever evolving, but I do think, knowing your strengths and weaknesses, like, I have good ideas, I think, but I'm not like, I can't like make it come to life like David can or Sue can, you know what I mean? So I know you said you got like real graphic designer, like you got to kind of like, you got to know where to outsource for those type of things.
No, absolutely.
Yeah. It's interesting. It's kind of like where like I've found my more passion going. Like lifting, I love lifting, and powerlifting's amazing, but like I almost like, and I say this like more so my close friends, but it's like I feel like I'm playing a different game now. Like I love lifting, but like to be honest, like I don't give a shit to be like the top guy. Like I mean I want to be competitive. Who doesn't? But it's the game of like business and like creating something bigger than yourself. That's been like the passion. That's like
Yeah.
that's like the focus right now. So it's definitely interesting. It's wild.
No, absolutely, man. Yeah, it's like I said, the creativity aspect of things. It just, having like concrete results. You're a coach as well, so I'm sure you understand. It's like being able to take someone to a high level. That your programming works by these objective measures, right? Either by increases in total or placing or whatever. That's very satisfying in the very, like engineering brain that I have, right? It's like, okay, I'm doing things right. Like this is objectively the right input that's giving us this desired output. But like I said, my more natural inclination has always been more toward that expression and creativity based stuff. And I like being able to share messages and have people, abide by them, and they like representing them. Like I'm sure you feel the same. You love seeing people wear your shit. It's just like, it's not just like, oh, that's mine. It's like, okay, you resonate with the message and the goal of the branding. And you in your heart of hearts believe that, you have the conviction to say that I believe this message is a good way to live your life and carry yourself. So when you see other people do that, you're like, okay, like other people are on the right track as well.
You're doing something bigger than just like an apparel company. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, absolutely.
Kind of building a community, bringing people together for the right reasons. You know what I mean? That's I agree. I feel like same thing. Yeah, like coaching, obviously you get that. There's a very rewarding feeling when you like have a client, especially if you can be there at the meet, see them do well, see that progression that they've had from one meet to the next, seeing them ecstatic. Like that's cool as shit. Like, love that. That's why, like, I feel like I would never stop doing that. But at the same time, like, it's just a little bit different when you're like creating kind of something from scratch, seeing that kind of grow. Definitely cool. One of the coolest things is always like whenever people tag us like in other gyms wearing like our stuff, I'm like, that's the coolest thing ever. I'm like, I don't know, there's like in fucking Texas somewhere wearing our stuff, like, and then they're like pumped to just be like wearing that in their gym. So it's always cool, like seeing that more and more. Even like some people in like other countries, like that's like, I'm like, what the hell? I'm like, this person just from like the Netherlands is wearing ours, like wants to wear our stuff. I'm just like, it's like, I'm almost like, it's crazy. I don't know. It's like, that's probably one of the coolest feelings as well. So it's it'll be cool to see how how everything continues to expand. You're clearly on the right track, and we're working on something now. Hopefully January we'll be able to put something together, an event here at KOP. I know we want to get like the merch involved. We want to have some coaching involved. I'm excited for that. Obviously we don't have anything, we don't have any details for you guys, but a little teaser, January. Make sure you are on the lookout. Stay tuned. We're going to get Sean back here. We're going to do something fun.
Yeah. No, for everybody listening, we're looking to get some sort of event set up. It'll have, all different elements to it for people to lift, to, just hang out with other people, vendors, instructional stuff, trying to make a whole, comprehensive event out of the thing. So
no, I think it'll be sick.
I'm excited for it.
Yeah, I'm excited. Always bigger and better events on the way.
Yep.
Definitely like the idea of kind of like, starting to implement some of the seminar aspect, getting the brands out here. It's always cool having good brands that we also support. We always try and do that, get other vendors out here.
Yep.
Other thing I wanted to talk about too, because I kind of just came across it. You have a whole other Instagram, and it's like all food.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what you got going on there?
Yeah. So I started an Instagram a few months back, probably like, I don't know, maybe 4 months back, let's say, called Nori.plate. And for the past, like a little over a year, I mean, so to backtrack, I've been like tracking macros and tracking my food longer than I've even been lifting. Because I was overweight as a kid, not like terribly so, but like I wanted to be lean. You want to look good for girls, all that sort of stuff, right? It's like I wanted to get in shape. And the first course of action for that, alongside making my way, navigating the gym, having no fucking idea what I was doing, was to learn how to eat properly and track calories and all that sort of stuff. But in the past, year and a half, I've really made it a point to like really, really tighten up on whole food sources, pretty much as the exclusively my diet. And, we were talking before this podcast about how you're like, okay, I need to get to the grocery store more. I'm like a middle-aged woman in how excited I get to go grocery shopping.
Really?
Like, dude, when I can find like just like good quality food in the store, and I come home and I put it all on my like kitchen island. I'm like, oh my God, let's fucking go. I love cooking. I love eating. And like people have asked me all the time, just like what my diet is like. And, you know, a couple of years back, I worked with Alberto Nunez on my diet from like a more bodybuilding perspective. So just like very high carb, low to moderate fat, very frequent meal timing. And that was really successful for what the purpose was, which was performance. But kind of trying to hone in more on the health aspect of things in the past year and a half, you know, people have a lot of questions like, what is it that you're eating? So I started this page just to document, you know, what I'm eating every day.
Yeah.
And, you know, at some point I would definitely like to, get one of those like fucking stupid headsets and or, you know, for the camera and record everything as I'm making it and turn it into some sort of like higher, you know, well-produced Instagram
YouTube
page
series or something.
YouTube, exactly. But yeah, man, I love food. I love, you know, eating well, and I love cooking for people as well.
Yeah.
So it's just always been a passion of mine.
Yeah, no, you're probably onto something there. I feel like people love watching other people cook food
And eat.
Yeah, what is that?
It's weird. Mukbang.
Yeah, I'm like,
I can't
that's
watch that. It makes me uncomfortable.
Dude, like, I don't want to watch that. That's why like when somebody brought that up, it's like that's a big thing. I was like,
especially since the culture of it is like the ASMR aspect, like actually listening to the people eat.
Yeah.
Like they mic them up and they're just like slurping on fucking
like,
noodles and like
yeah.
biting fish's heads off and shit.
yeah,
It's like, this is not for
I
me.
don't get it, but people are definitely into that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I think it's cool you even have like the Instagram now, but
dude, and it's like it's so low effort, and it is done better than both our coaching team's page and my apparel page. I'm like, you fucking kidding me? Like, it's like I'm taking like these iPhone pictures of my food every day, and it has like 5,000 followers. I'm like, this is bullshit.
It's crazy, right? Yeah, it's like sometimes you're like something you're not even trying that has the most success. Like,
Yeah.
But you know, might be a good indicator that you're onto something there. So yeah, it's always good. I mean, I always appreciate like a good like YouTube video or somebody's making something, seeing the end product.
Mm-hmm.
I wish I was into cooking a little more. Like, I'm the guy that's like, all right, what can I make that's going to give me like the most meals with the least amount of time put into it?
Yeah.
I'm literally making like ground beef, ground turkey. I'm throwing like a can of Rotel in. I'm like, I'm good. We're
No,
good.
I feel you.
We got vegetables. We got protein. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, I gotta correct that.
Yeah. No, I was definitely that way. So like after I graduated college, I worked a year at the NIH because I was going to go to medical school. So like I was on just like very normal people hours, obviously had to go to work. So the convenience factor was something that I had to prioritize. And now, you know, sure, I waste a ton of time cooking every day. But since I coach full time, it's like I have my own hours. And it brings me a lot of like joy to be able to cook quality food. So it's you know, an opportunity cost that I'm willing to take. Like there's a guy that so like if I go on my TikTok, like my algorithm is like all golf and food. So like there's a guy that I follow who just like cooks through do you know what the French Laundry is?
No.
It's like a very like luxury restaurant in like Napa Valley, California. Okay. And it's like all like Michelin star, like small plated, like very delicately constructed food. And there's this just regular dude who's like making his way cooking through the French Laundry cookbook. And like, I'm like, I want to do that. I'm like, I want to just spend like 8 hours cooking some random bullshit one day.
Damn. Yeah, no, it's cool. I mean, I wish I was into it a little more, but I can always appreciate it, you know, when you see somebody making like some banging meals.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, the nutrition aspect's huge. Want to get into some of these questions too. We usually do like a little Instagram, get some of the followers on the Instagram, some input here. What we got? Hopefully something. Where we at? I also want to talk about like how'd you end up in Florida while I'm trying to get to these.
Well, I had been planning to move to Miami for a while anyway.
Yeah.
I moved in February. So after I worked at the NIH, I had moved back home to New York because I was actually going to pursue acting.
Yeah.
You know, I had mentioned that I was going to go to Strasberg, which is like a method acting school in New York City. And I had applied, I'd gotten in, but with COVID, they like shut it down. So during that whole year, I was like, well, there's no school going on. I was like, how can I leverage the environment that I have right now? Like, what can I do?
Yeah.
And that's when I just doubled down on the coaching, hired, the coach that I did, started working on the apparel. And I had already been planning on moving to Miami, at this point anyway. So it was just a matter of like, I need to get into nice weather. I need to get out of home because I was living back home. And it's like, you kind of get comfortable living at home. I was just like, I can't do this anymore.
No.
After COVID was over, it was like, all right, that's the grace period I had. After that, it's donezo. You know?
No, I think even just like getting outside of your comfort zone, which most of us where we grew up, that's kind of the comfort zone. I feel like even though you were already doing a lot of really cool things, having success, it's like getting outside of that, being around different people, just being in a different environment. I mean, even just like with the clothing brand, like I feel like since you've been down there, it seems like things have kind of like started to evolve a little bit. You know what I mean? I feel like you kind of like think a little differently, think outside the box. You train down at like the Ghost Gym.
Yeah,
I see you at a couple different gyms, but
yeah, I split most of my training between Ghost and there's a gym called Paradise in Pinecrest, Miami. It's like a very similar culture to here in that it's like power building. It's, like one side of the gym. It's more delineated than this place is, but it's like one side of it's basically a big rectangle. So one side is all powerlifting. There's like a cardio section in the middle, and then like the most far right side of the gym is just like all bodybuilding stuff. And it's just like a really cool environment, tall ceilings like in here. You finish your squat, bench, or deadlift, and you get to go to a completely different side of the gym and just, get after your bodybuilding stuff, which is, in my opinion, just a lot better. I think of some of the smaller, like powerlifting specific gyms I used to train at. It's like, all right, I finished squats. Let me walk 3 feet over to the rinky dinky lat pull down in the corner. And, it's just not as exciting.
No, for sure. Yeah. I mean, and, although I can always appreciate the small powerlifting gyms, like Conchi is pretty much that, you know what I mean? And, but I've always also wanted to, this is kind of like the main goal. This is like the vision. And like, if I was going to create a gym, wanted to do something like this where you can do, all of the powerlifting things, all the best comp equipment, but then you also go to the other side and all right, now I can get after it with all of the bodybuilding pieces, the machines, like just have a little more space. Like you got mirrors. Like I just, the experience is a little bit different than sometimes when I know exactly what you mean though. Like some of the gyms, like they got all their combo racks and then there's like this like small room with like a lat pull down cable machine and like maybe a few dumbbells. And nothing wrong with that. Conchi, we had some of, I mean, I still love it. I love training over there sometimes.
I mean, to be fair, though, you guys have a lot of good bodybuilding equipment there.
Yeah,
anyway.
We still try and, like, cover all the bases, but it's just the experience obviously a little different, like, sounds like with the Paradise Gym. I haven't got a chance to go down there. Like, I don't even think the last time I was in Miami, I don't even think the Ghost Gym was open yet. Looks sweet. And then the Paradise Gym, too, from what I've seen, also looks like definitely one I'd like to check out. But so one of the things we want to, and I actually want to talk about this too, and could be kind of like a good way to cap everything off. But so I would kind of want to more so even hear maybe like outside of lifting, but like lifting goals like long term. Do you have something that's going to be like the end all be all, or like the ultimate goal that you'll be able to check off? And then I also want to kind of talk more so like outside of like lifting as well.
Yeah, I mean, from the lifting perspective, my motivation has always been competitive. There are a lot of people you ask, they're like, I want to be the best lifter that I can be, or I want to continue to make progress. Like me, it's very cut and dry. I want to win. You know what I mean? And whatever weight class that comes in, I'll be happy to see it. I want to win. I want to win convincingly. And that's, something that I feel like from a strength standpoint, I've gotten closer to over the years. Like I said earlier on in this podcast, like I think that the reason that the hype gets built up every year between me and Russ is that the strength is very much there, right? It's just like my execution has been dog shit, to put it frankly, right? But that's always been my goal. And, I think that I can be honest enough with myself that, I'm going to win and there's not going to be an end all be all, right? Like you're going to win, it's going to feel good for however much time and you're going to get the whole what's next syndrome. Yeah. Right. So I recognize that, but I definitely want to check off gold medals, in whatever weight class that might come. Outside of lifting, like my biggest life goal is just like, I want to have a loving family. I want a wife. I want, a decent amount of kids. Like that's the end goal. And that's kind of where a lot of the, the effort is what the effort is motivated by. And a lot of these other ventures, coaching, the apparel side of things, I'm putting a lot of effort in the educational side of things as well when it comes to coaching, because I feel like with powerlifting, we're kind of in this golden age of both powerlifting and powerlifting programming where you're not going to find the methodology in any sort of textbooks or in any forums or even on YouTube that is going to yield the most successful athlete outcomes. It's like the coaches who are at the top right now are the ones who hold that information. And to tease it, we don't have any specifics to give out yet just because we don't want to, but myself and a couple other coaches are working on a platform to disseminate this kind of information. All the motivation behind that really is to set myself up to be able to, prioritize a smaller roster in the future, satisfy the creative desires, satisfy the educational desires that I have, but be able to live this, family life that I want to have one day.
Yeah.
So that's really the end goal if you had to ask for it, for me.
No, yeah, man, I agree. I feel like just having some flexibility, being able to kind of provide for like a family.
Yep.
I feel like that's probably most people's I don't know if you'd call it an end goal, but maybe.
Well, you never know nowadays. A lot of people don't want kids.
Yeah,
don't want to get married and.
Yeah, that's true too. I mean, I'm in no rush. I'm trying to hold off. How old are you?
26.
Yeah, so I mean, you still got plenty of time as well.
It's funny though, because it was maybe 2 years ago or a little under 2 years ago. Because you think of, I saw a meme a few years back that was like, when did the transition happen when your friend tells you they're pregnant between saying, oh my God, and congratulations? But a little less than 2 years ago, I had the moment where I was like, I'm ready. I could have a kid right now and I'd be stoked.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, yeah, I mean, I'm not in any rush in the sense I'm forcing it, but
yeah.
I totally could be ready to raise a kid right now
Really?
if I had to. Yeah, absolutely.
Damn. I don't know. I don't know, man. I got 2 dogs and they kick my ass. I'm like, shit. I'm still trying to get a house for my dogs.
Well,
it's
that's the tough thing.
I don't even want
everything is so expensive,
Yeah,
and it's just
it's
harder
crazy.
to even if you want that, it's all right, I have all these financial constraints that just make it so much more difficult to do something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The housing market right now is fucking. Well, it's actually settling down a little bit. I'm actually happy. I've been always keep my eye open. Shit was weird for a while. People were paying 20% more than the listing price. The listing price is already high. I'm like, nah, I ain't doing that.
I mean, it's horrendous, dude. Down in Miami, you're not buying anything for less than $1 million. It's
wow. See, around here, it's 500,000. If you want anything I mean, you could get some decent stuff. If you want something remotely nice, 500 is the minimum. And I mean, again, if you want nice, you're 657.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I can imagine Miami's kind of brutal, huh?
Yep.
And it's just I feel my biggest thing, I just want a yard for my dogs.
Yeah.
That's it. I just want a yard. I'm the house, obviously I want it to be fairly nice, but I'm I just need a house for my dogs. So Miami's got to be brutal for yards, right? I feel everything down there is a little bit more. Things around here are even kind of tight, but down there I feel there's not a lot of room for.
Well, that's the thing. There is, but those areas are
super
expensive. You know what I mean? If you're in, I think of Pinecrest, or I'm naming things that you're probably not familiar with, but at any rate, if you're outside of the city, it's you can have a yard, you can have a nice house in the suburbs, but it's running you $1 million. If you want something super nice, maybe $2 million. It's steep.
We better sell some more T-shirts.
Yeah, right. Start an OnlyFans.
Dude, yeah. Jesus. Oh, man. Now you could do the Instagram subscription. See that?
Right?
I
always get those notifications. So, I'm sure you get it too, where it's someone just sets that up. They don't even start providing anything. And Instagram tells you, oh, sign up for whoever's exclusive content. You
could tell it's I feel it's the people that you almost suspected probably had it anyway. But maybe, I don't know, maybe they just didn't promote it, but it's in it pops up as the Instagram thing. You're all right, maybe they're. I feel the Instagram subscription's the classy way to do it. then again, who knows? I don't know. I haven't even seen a subscription.
Well, I think that just because of OnlyFans, the connotation of it, we immediately think of as sexual.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, someone could be setting something up like totally honest business that is just exclusive.
Yeah.
But that's where our brain goes when
I
we see the
know.
notification.
OnlyFans fucked it up. Fucked
Yep.
it all up.
Yep.
All right, man. Where can people find you if they want to check out more Sean Noriega content?
Yeah, I think the primary place that you're going to see anything is on Instagram. Instagram handles at HAMSTRINGPAPI. YouTube channel, I admittedly have been dog shit about consistent posting, but that's just my name, Sean Noriega. If you're looking for apparel, you go to teamnori.com. If you're looking for coaching, you go to teamnori.com. Admittedly, I'm full for coaching, but I have 5 fantastic coaches who work under me that have limited availability. Yeah, man, that's pretty much it. You know,
Nice.
Instagram is where I spend most of my days.
Yeah.
I'm sure you can
Did you
relate.
do any TikTok?
So, the creative director that I hired for my brand manages some actually very successful, famous people on TikTok and YouTube, and he's always sending me stuff. You need to post with this trend and post on this video. This is the point where I've started to feel like an old man, and I felt this for the first time when I went to there was a charity event in Colorado that Elevate Barbell put on I think it was 2 years ago already, and that was where I first felt like an old man because they were setting up Twitch streams for the whole weekend.
Yeah.
And I'm just looking at it and I'm like, this is where my understanding of technology and social media ends. Up until this point, this is where my understanding ends. And just being on TikTok, seeing how people pick up on the trends, and then just also knowing how the algorithm works of just having to spam it constantly multiple times a day. I don't know, can't be bothered.
Yeah, TikTok's rough. I have literally now multiple people that are supposed to focus on TikTok because I don't want fucking anything to do with it.
And I know that I should. I really know that I should. I used to coach. You know who Max Taylor is? The redhead kid with the mustache on TikTok.
Does he have the curly hair? Is he?
Yeah, curly red hair, jawline, mustache. He just makes videos in his room.
Yeah.
I used to coach him, and he has 10 million followers on TikTok. Dude is
Damn.
blown up, and he's posting 4 or 5 times a day. Everything is relevant with the current viral trend on TikTok.
Yeah.
I'm that has to be so exhausting.
That's what I'm thinking. People don't realize how hard it is to keep up with any platform trends and just consistently posting. Especially if you want to make it anything somewhat quality.
Yep.
It's you literally almost need a person for each platform. If you really want to do it right, or I don't know, maybe you do if you're somebody who's straight up influencer and that's all you're focusing on, you could probably do everything yourself, but it's man, I don't know, I just don't have the interest in doing that shit. It's hard enough for me to post on Instagram. I only most recently just started. I'm all right, I'm gonna try and do 1 a day on Instagram. I don't know, shit's fucking.
So it's definitely a flaw of mine where I'm just I think of posting stuff on TikTok. It's almost I'm okay, what value are you providing? Granted, it's there's, as we just said, a lot of effort and consistency that has to go into it, which is a positive quality that we view in anything that we do. Mm-hmm. But I have this mindset where I'm just all right, this is not this isn't a skill set. I'm not putting effort. It's not something intellectual. It's not something that's built up. It's just a frivolous sort of thing where mentally I just kind of check out or lose interest in doing it. But obviously if this is something that either on the apparel side or the just general influencer side I want to grow, it's well, suck it up, this is the direction it's going.
Yeah, and with you too, I kind of wanted to say I feel you had the acting, you kind of have that acting passion. I feel like skits and shit like that, that's also always money.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
A few years ago, Russ and I did the shit powerlifters say video that has 700,000-800,000 views on YouTube. It did really well, and I had written the script for all of that. It was a ton of fun to do. When we were down at Alpha Elite doing it, I was just all right, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do this, just directing the guys around to shoot whatever, and I have fun with that. Yeah, but at the same time, like I said, it's I think of where my mental energy is best placed. Yeah. And it's coaching, apparel, and then just everything else just gets put on the back burner.
Yeah, that's smart. Same thing, kind of going back to the last podcast I did with them. It's like when you kind of talk to somebody that's like having success with something, it's like they're very, very focused on kind of like that one thing. I feel like in your case, the coaching goes hand in hand with like, you can do the apparel as well. It's not like they're still you know what I mean?
It's not mutually exclusive.
It's not like you're trying to start like a cooking service also on the side, like which would also kind of be you, but it's at the same time like that's kind of a little bit off the focal point. So that's always something I try and like remind myself on the daily. Literally made the post today from that podcast, like stay in your lane, stay with the direction that you want to go with what you're doing.
Yep.
Try not to it's easy to get pulled, like, and I'm sure you've had plenty of opportunities that probably like people throw out your way. Sean, you want to do this? And you're like, sounds cool, but it's like, if you start kind of grabbing at all of those, you end up nowhere, you know what I mean? You end up just not where you want to be with what you're actually passionate about and what your focus is. So could be a little good end point, guys.
Yep.
Stay focused. Anything else you'd like to say as we wrap this up?
No, man. I think we're good. Covered everything. I really appreciate you having me on. As always, dude, I fucking love training here, man. It's a fantastic time.
Awesome. Great to hear. Always good to have you up here. And we will be getting Sean back. Stay tuned. Details to come. Aiming for a January event.
Yep.
All right, man. Appreciate it.
Appreciate you, man. Thank you for the scotch as well.
Absolutely. We're out.